Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to another edition of Wrestling After Show, coming at you from the palatial After Show studios located in the heart of the Mid-Atlantic territory. My name is Heath Haynes.
I'm Jonny Fairplay.
And we're going to be talking about things we like in wrestling. Things we like, some things that maybe not so much. But there is for sure a lot going on. We're coming off the big Survivor Series PLE that happened this past weekend. We're going to be delving into that. And one of the more eventful episodes of Monday Night Raw we've seen in recent memory, and we've seen a lot of them. We had a humdinger of one last night. We're going to be delving into that and just sort of some other odds and ends from around the world of WWE Pro Wrestling at large. But how was your Thanksgiving, Fairplay?
Eventful.
Eventful as well.
Yeah, I had King George from Australian Survivor over. It was his first Thanksgiving. Does not understand the concept whatsoever. He goes, "So we just eat all day?" I go, "Yeah, that's pretty much it." And post Thanksgiving feast, which I kind of pushed till December 1st because of stuff, family schedules. I had a Thanksgiving after party, which you came by. We have a little bluegrass over here.
We right where we're recording this podcast, right where we record this podcast every week, ladies and gentlemen. There was a nice little bluegrass combo. Give them a shout out. What were they called?
It's the Chris Cruz Band.
The Chris Cruz combo. A little bluegrass unit playing right here, and they were delightful. Very talented musicians.
Sure.
And we all had a good time. We had little kids running around. We had the old folks. It was a very, very Thanksgiving sort of event.
Sure.
Yeah. An after party, because you had to put the fair play spin on it.
Yeah.
It was a Thanksgiving after party, everybody. So
who does that?
Yeah. Who does that? So anyway, here we are, and we're going to talk about, we're going to do a little bit of a wrap up on Survivor Series. It's funny though, as we were sitting down and record this, I mentioned a fair play. It's when you have, we record these on Tuesdays usually. And so, you're a little bit further removed from the PLE, and especially when you have Raw as big as last night's. It's like, who even cares about the PLA? But we would be remiss in our duties as wrestling know-it-alls on the internet to not talk about the PLEs. But we're gonna cruise through it.
Sure, and for the record, I mean, it's a top four.
It's one of the big four.
Yeah,
one of the big four.
Yeah, maybe not top big four.
Yeah.
I don't know. So here's my biggest takeaway from this Survivor Series. Well, you know what? Let's go in order, because I feel like my big takeaway is the main event. So let's start at the beginning.
Let's do that.
Sure.
So first off, I watched the entire kickoff show for this thing, and I used to be the kind of guy that's like, kickoff show, whatever. Maybe I'll put it on, maybe I won't. The quality of this kickoff show has me pretty much putting the kickoff show on the must-see list. Moving forward, just the analysis, insight, and the story beats on top of the incredible video packages are amazing. And there was some stuff that, like, they did a history of War Games match, which featured a lot of Dusty Rhodes and Arn Anderson commentary, and harken back, to the days of Crockett, which of course we love on this show. And they did a little package on the history of Survivor Series itself, which, ironically enough, is also tied in to Jim Crockett Promotions, as Survivor Series was Vince McMahon and the WWF's effort to counter-program the granddaddy of them all, Starrcade, which we've been talking about for the entire month of November here on this program. And you're not going to see those packages anywhere else, I feel. So it was time well spent for me watching that pre-show. But that brought us right into the women's War Games match. And quite honestly, I gave my opinion on the whole build-up for this thing last week. Wasn't looking forward to it. Seemed like it could have very well been just a traditional Survivor Series match, which they don't even have on the pay-per-view now. So it's like there's a space for it. and it lived up to my low expectations. I have to say, I wasn't into it. I was kind of dicking around on my phone for most of the time, and every time I looked up, I saw something that looked awful and sloppy. And I didn't really care about anything until Rhea Ripley came in. And I thought the finish was the finish that needed to happen, because honestly, the only two participants in there that were deserving of that sort of environment, I felt, were Liv and Rhea, and that's what the finish came down to.
What's her
Rodriguez? Yeah. Well, yeah. But as far as like two people that really wanted to get their hands on each other and and commit violence, Liv and Rhea. But yeah, that's was not super into the match myself, but I don't know. What did you think?
I thought Nia Jax was high.
Right.
I'm like, okay, like I didn't feel that there was difficulty finding marijuana or edibles or any of these things in the United States, and it's not. But I was just under the assumption that Nia Jax thought it was difficult. She's in Vancouver, Canada, and it's like, oh my God, edibles, let's go.
Yeah.
And she was just like, you had people scared to hit her, it appeared, in fear of a receipt. And then you had Nia I mentioned this on the Pro Wrestling Boom podcast yesterday. I've seen less light in matches on Glow Wrestling than in that match.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
Yeah, some of those the chair shots specifically, it's like, what are you even doing?
What are we
the toilet seat was groan inducing for me.
Yeah.
And all the weaponry in general. And this is a commentary I could make on both of the War Games matches. Since weaponry became a part of it, it's a match that's structured for double teaming and triple teaming and exercising an advantage over the opposing team. That's the whole thing. That's why it's structured the way it is, with each team sending in opponents at different stages. And a lot of the times in both the women's and the men's matches, nobody's exercising that advantage. Instead, they're shuffling around under the ring to find a fucking toilet seat,
looking for their gimmick of choice.
Yeah,
and so that's subtracted from the match, and that's the whole thing is the advantage, and they're erasing that. And then the look on some of these people's faces when they can't find their gimmick of choice.
Right.
They're losing their minds.
And then once they get in the ring, there's they're just walking around. There's just like a lot of just kind of walking around. Okay, we did this spot. Now we're just and especially in light of the classic War Games.
You see
that we watched last. Were you thinking about that?
I think we screwed ourselves.
Because we're like, War Games.
We just watched the greatest War Games of all time.
And that's not what it is anymore.
And it is not that. And in addition to that, we're off the heels of one of the top 3, I would say possibly best Hell in a Cell of all time with Drew and Punk.
Yeah.
And we have similar circumstances in which there's a cage, a super cage. This is actually a double cage. If not as impressive as Hell in a Cell, maybe twice. Who's to say, right? And you have Punk. He comes in with the toolbox, and you're like, okay, well, this is the Disney version of Hell in a Cell.
No, I get like no color.
Why? Why do you get that?
Well, I get no color like to the extent of what we saw in our classic War Games.
Yes.
But somebody can get some color.
Someone. I mean, isn't that why the Tongans are there? Isn't that why Sami Zayn is? But
there was. We definitely. I mean, with that Punk and McIntyre match, which in modern day WWE is an outlier, and it did have all that story invested into it, where the payoff needed that level of violence. And again, I mean, nothing in this women's match really had that much of a build up besides Rhea and Liv.
I did like the final 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I like Tiffy lining up the duel, coming out there. The ridiculousness of that was what it was, but visually, there's that is for a fan. That's not you. That
Yeah,
is for a fan going, how cool is that?
yeah. It looks great, but when these performers are doing these moves off the top of the cage, all I can focus on are the 8 idiots that are just standing and waiting to catch them.
Yeah, and if the Miz were there, the 7 because Miz is 2 feet behind, going, "Oh man, I just missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys catch him? Okay, great.
So
Olay!"
so that was the women's match,
Yeah.
and then we moved on to the first of 3 title matches, which just I have to say I really like seeing titles defended
Yeah.
on these shows.
Cody hates that.
And a lot of times you got to think a lot of these shows have been 5-match PLEs, and in recent memory, though, 4 out of the 5 at least are title defenses. So I like to see that carrying over.
I like that, but I like the fact that we will see that 1 out of 5 that's not,
The
and
grudge
that and that shows you the juice on that match.
It does, and it also makes the title matches more special too, because it's like title matches for these big titles that mean something. They're going to be defended on the PLE, and so you get used to that, and then it's what you're saying, when there's a grudge match juxtaposed in there, well then everything gains extra credibility.
I love it.
So we had, for the United States title, we had the returning Shinsuke Nakamura against the champion LA Knight. And first off, Shinsuke's production package, his new entrance, his new gear, everything, the presentation's really working for me.
Yeah, I mean, he is a samurai Jedi Sith all in one. He looks like he just slayed a bunch of Padawans. I love it.
The evil otherworldly samurai for sure. And I like the blood moon behind him on the video projection. I like the fact that his theme song has been not entirely redone, but remixed to a point where you can't really sing along to it anymore.
Fingers crossed that they find a way.
Yeah.
As we learned in the Lost World,
and
they always find a way.
And something you mentioned the other day, as far as in-ring, he's really adopting a lot of the kabuki stuff, and we're not talking about the theater. We're talking about the great Kabuki, the wrestler from the 70s and 80s, managed, of course, by the nefarious Gary Hart. He's doing a lot. It's like doing some it's like the meshing of pro wrestling and martial arts, because it's not really
redneck Roddy,
not really karate, but it looks convincing from the cheap seats. And of course, the most prominent aspect is the mist. But I guess he's been using that.
He's done the mist for a while, because we saw the mist in the whole Cody feud.
Yeah.
So that was the first reintroduction of Shinsuke. With the evil undertones, and he was basically fed to Cody, which I didn't have a problem with.
Yeah.
So I liked it, building him up, feed him, then pull him back, and then reintroduce, change it up some, and it's just like, okay. And if this is his farewell tour or whatever, I love this version of Shinsuke. I love the ode to the great Kabuki. This is, I mean, as much as I liked Shinsuke NXT first arriving to the States from New Japan, this is my favorite version yet.
Well, he's been around for a while. Everybody needs a freshen up every now and again, and I think this one's really working for him. And I think we say what you will about LA Knight's title reign as United States champion. I think mixed at best. And you can say that's due to him as a talent. You can say it's due to booking, whatever you want to say. I kind of think that, in ring, as you will often point out, is not LA Knight's strong suit. And it seemed like his U.S. title run was relying a lot of him working matches, and not so much him cutting promos and being a character, which is what he's all about. And so maybe for him, you can tell more compelling stories with him in the chase as opposed to holding the belt.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't even think he needs to chase. I think he just needs a good feud against a good verbally equaled opponent.
Yeah, which he hasn't had since Logan Paul.
Yeah. So, I mean, as good as Mello and Andrade were, they were feuding with each other. He was just like, kind of there. And yeah, he's third wheel and really never, I mean, he wasn't cutting promos on like scathing promos that he could. So no, I think he needs. Looking at the SmackDown roster, or maybe he's going to Raw because maybe that's why he lost the U.S. Championship. Because,
Sure.
but looking at the people out there that can talk, is there anyone that just jumps out? Because they've mentioned basically every 2 to 3 weeks Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Is this back? Because I don't want this.
As much as a lot of people wanted that program, a year ago. Yeah, I don't want to see a retread of it. I feel like they did it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like
great.
there's anything left on the bone there. Yeah, I don't know. But back to your other point about he might be going over to Raw. I think we are going to see a shuffling of talents.
I think so too.
Start at the beginning of the year, maybe like a mini draft, and they might do it in the context of okay, we're not going to do a draft, but Adam I almost said
Pierce.
Adam Page.
Yes, Adam Page. Adam Page.
Yeah, Pierce and Nick Aldis might get together and say, okay,
we have a trade.
Let's do a couple of trades.
Yeah.
I think we will be seeing something like that at the beginning of the year as Raw on Netflix is looming ever closer. But moving on our Survivor Series card to the second of the 3 title matches, we had the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. And this was Braun Breaker, the champion, defending against Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus. And for a lot of people, this was their favorite match of the night.
Yeah, other than the main event, is my favorite match. I loved it, and the beauty of it was I was watching with King George from Australian Survivor, and George is about to leave the room, and he saw Ludwig Kaiser come to start walking to the ring. He goes, "Oh, hold on, who is this?
He is a specimen."
And so, so he's looking. He's like, "Oh no, he's a prawn." And I go, "What's a prawn?" He goes, "A shrimp." And I was like, "In what way?" He goes, "Oh, you keep the body, you throw away the head." I was like, so there. Wow. So, shoot. King George shooting on Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah, there's and introducing some Australian dating rituals possibly into the mix. I thought this was a pretty good match. It lived up to what you would think this match would be on paper. It was super violent, hard hitting, of course, fast paced. I like the new era of triple threat matches where there's less and less of one guy just laying out, waiting for his spot. There were some big spots in this match. But I every time Ludwig Kaiser is starting to be one of those guys for me where if he's on my TV, I'm paying attention. Probably not in the way George was, but he is. Yeah, I mean, he does look amazing. All his work looks great, and then just wailing away on Sheamus with that shillelagh. That was pretty violent, and I dug it, man. That was a great match.
Well, I feel it didn't deliver what we expected because I think a lot of us felt that I have a cat over there that's just saying hello. It's fine. But I felt as though a lot of us expected Kaiser to be there to do the job.
Sure.
And I think the right move was Sheamus because he's Teflon.
Right.
He can do that job. You actually get over Ludwig Kaiser for the shillelagh beatdown prior.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was win. All 3 guys came out of that match better than they were going in.
I agree. Do you feel like, and they really made a lot of this story beat on commentary in the in the match itself and also in the pre-show. Sheamus's campaign for that Intercontinental Championship, because it's the one belt, of course, that's eluded him his entire career. Do you think that continues?
It's so funny because so many people are just like, okay, Braun Breaker is the future. It's obvious. And they're like, he's not losing the championship anytime soon. I feel he can lose the championship and get it back. And he's equally as strong. Because we saw him lose to Jay just so that we had the reason for, for the bloodline to come to Raw.
Yeah.
So to cost him the championship. Right. So I feel like Braun Breaker, because he is young and he is quote unquote inexperienced, versus the guys that have been there for 15, 16 years or whatever, that Braun can lose that strap, win it back 2 weeks, 2 months later. No harm, no foul.
He's young. He's not infallible. You don't want to set him up as too much of a world beater this early in his career. Have him take his L's.
Yeah.
And
so a Sheamus L along the way, and then gets it back 2 months later.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, gets it back at let's say he loses it before WrestleMania, gets it back at WrestleMania. Then you got a WrestleMania moment. There you go.
Yeah.
And then my personal match of the night, which I don't see this opinion reflected anywhere in wrestling journalism this week, but I loved this match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther, the champion, defending against Damian Priest. If you watch this program for any period of time, I get hot and cold on Damian Priest, and I'm recently been on a hot streak. The hot streak, for me, for my feelings of Damian Priest, has never been higher. He was brilliant in this match. I thought, well, first off, he did an arm drag.
Yeah.
And he did an arm bar and held it, and it wasn't it wasn't a submission arm bar. It was just an arm bar.
Sure.
He looked on top of the world.
That was our second arm bar of the week. We saw Sting with an arm bar on Beautiful Bobby earlier.
That's right.
Callback.
He looked on top of the world, and then as they tell the story of his injured arm, the match just became work the body part, which, I mean, Wrestling 101, old school Wrestling 101.
Ask the Andersons.
I loved all that. And then, kind of a fuck finish with Finn Balor getting involved, and any opportunity for Finn Balor to be in the rampway and make that gremlin fucking troll face that he does is amazing.
You're here for it. It's better than the smile, huh?
And then seeing him get fucking boot to the face for his trouble from Gunther. And that's not and Gunther's work in this whole thing. We've been praising him for the layers that he's been exhibiting lately, and just kind of being unsure of himself, coming off the back foot. And actually, if you pay attention, he's gained weight recently.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I think that adds to it, because, and maybe I'm reading some of my own experience, but when I get a little down, who's to say I might not, sit down and eat like a bag of M&Ms or a sleeve of cookies or whatever.
A sleeve?
Sure.
Oh,
two.
Wow.
So maybe that's what Gunther has been turning to, and in this time of misdirection or whatever you want to call it.
Snacks, bubble baths, and cookies.
So he's putting on. So yeah, he had a little bit extra weight on him. The gear is a little bit tight. He's got some flab hanging over the gear. But I thought that added to it. And he defends his championship, comes out and on top, maybe seemingly back to his winning ways and his winning mindset. But yeah, I loved this match, and I don't see why more people aren't trumpeting its glory to the internet.
I for me personally, it had just been a long weekend, with Thanksgiving proper. I knew I had my Thanksgiving party and after party coming up. I had done Record Store Day. 3:45 a.m. wake up, to drive an hour to sit in line in 33-degree weather. And so it was just a lot for me that weekend. with everything going on. You know, it was a big holiday visiting weekend, family and friends on those things. So for me, visually, I needed something a little more to catch my eye palette.
Do you feel like in a different set of circumstances you may have enjoyed it more?
This pay-per-view in October, or PLE in October, I enjoy this match more. I needed something a little more stimulating, because you know I'm the first person to raise my hand on a Will Ospreay match and go, dude, just sell one fucking move, just one. So, and there was, you know, it was what I looked for.
Yeah.
But as I said, I just felt there was just so much going on in life as we know it, that I needed to be visually stimulated to hold my attention.
That's interesting. I would go back and check this one out if you get a chance, because it really is. It's all about selling. And then they did a backstage angle afterwards where they went after Priest again and did just an awesome stretched out over the equipment box, arm outstretched, just an awesome looking chair shot. And so, yeah, he's probably going to be a little bit indisposed for a little while. But saying all that to say this, now we're at the main event. And this is what I feel like we've been talking about ever since this podcast was created. We've been talking about this inevitable, well, not inevitable. At one point, it was in question whether this match was going to happen, but indeed it came to pass this past weekend. The War Games, why they never called it Tribal Combat War Games is beyond me. But the OG Bloodline versus the Bloodline 2.0 or New Bloodline, whatever you want to call it. And okay, I have some thoughts on this thing. The match notwithstanding, like we were saying earlier, you know, just the actual mechanics of the match. There's a lot of fucking standing around. Nobody really using the advantage periods to their advantage. The searching for weapons. I do have to, goddamn, Tama Tonga, this guy, even he screws up even when he's looking for the weapons, because he comes out, flips up the apron, he's looking for a table. We all see that toolbox, and it's like,
thanks.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Thanks, spoiler alert.
Yeah. No, it's one down, dude. There's your fucking table.
Yeah, like they're gonna give him prime weaponry positioning.
Yeah, but it's like when we see that toolbox, it's like, okay, well, now we know what Punk's grabbing. You know? And that was
But I mean, like if you're Tama Tonga, are you seriously thinking, oh well, as far as where my weapon gimmick is going to be,
it's going to be right there.
It's going to be the first one because I'm Tama Tonga. They're not going to, they're going to have CM Punk's toolbox on the fourth one down.
This fucking guy. So, so that's that stuff. Notwithstanding that, Jacob Fatu was tremendous. As always. Go.
I have a question about it. Did Jacob Fatu get hurt? Call an audible and tell Bronson Reed to take his spot, because we saw Tama Tonga hurt his knee. Apparently, we are not hearing anything on the press conference afterwards about him being hurt. You know, we are seeing via social media Bronson Reed, he is hurt. So he I think that was an audible call, because you see Jacob Fatu hurt himself. Match-wise, whether it's a work or not, I don't know. We see lots of conversations between him and Bronson Reed. I think Jacob Fatu was supposed to come off the top, and he's like, I can't do it.
I'd have to go back and look. But
I don't need to hurt Jacob Fatu.
But here's my problem with that. That spot and its placement in the match, Bronson Reed coming off the cage onto Roman Reigns, who gets moved, and then, you know, Bronson Reed goes through that table. That's the end of Bronson Reed for that match. Jacob Fatu, he still had a role to play. His role to play was in the other ring, getting splashed from the top by Jimmy.
Yeah.
So
They could have.
So if he had called, I mean, unless they called the amount of the audible, hey, you do this and I'll take. Unless
there's
they
a lot of
actually
talking.
switch spots. I don't know. Again,
Go back and watch a ton of talking.
Again, Jacob Patu worked everybody on the internet months ago. You know, to the extent of wearing a walking cast to sell a leg injury. So yeah, I don't. So I wouldn't put it past him to not actually be injured. And apparently, Jimmy, according to Jay from the post match press conference, broke a toe.
That one's been confirmed.
Yeah.
And then Bronson Reed.
I think Bronson Reed is probably just, you know, hey big man, you've been on TV a whole lot lately. Let's pull back. Let's get some other people in, and you know, and they're probably using that just as a excuse to sort of write him off, you know, for a little bit. If he was actually hurt, I think we would know something by now. But again, looking at this match and the anticipation that we had over it, talking about it for months on end, it seemed.
Yeah.
The question that I found myself asking after the match was a question I did not find myself asking going into the match, and it's like, oh, but what do you win in this match? So there were never any clearly outlined stakes. Like, so for instance, Roman Reigns, if your OG bloodline wins, then you get the challenge Solo Sikoa in tribal combat for the Ulafala and the title of tribal chief. There's stakes.
Sure.
Right there. Solo Sikoa, if your team wins, then the other bloodline must they break up,
disbanded forever,
never to rear their head anywhere as a unit ever again. Sure. Okay, yeah, but none of that.
No,
none of that was a thing.
We were literally told at the end of the match, nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed, and all the questions coming out of the match are all about CM Punk.
Yeah.
So, what the fuck, Fairplay? What did we just watch, and why did we watch it?
I know what we saw. I don't know why, because they literally told us there's no why.
Yeah.
And this thing that we've been waiting for literally since the inception of this podcast is like,
right.
This is, you know, and it's like, that was it. And it was just like, for what? Oh, for nothing.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay. So and then going back, I got a couple problems with War Games as a whole.
Okay. And its current form, or just
current form. Oh yeah, it's very much current form. So every promotion has a version of War Games.
Okay.
We have the Blood and Guts, and that actually has the roof. And I was like, yay! Don't screw this up, Chris Jericho. You're not going to screw this up, right? Chris Jericho goes, oh, let's climb on top and let me do the crash pad. And it's like, oh my god, you literally killed it night one.
Yep.
Okay. TNA, they have the King of the Mountain match or whatever it is with the cage, and you climb up to get the weapons. Why do we have to have weapons? The Blood and Guts that has weapons. Start War Games WWE version NXT. We have to have weapons. We don't have to have weapons. So it's all about the advantage. We need a roof on. No, we don't need a roof, because there's no way if Solo Sikoa puts a padlock, his own padlock, on the door, there's no way Roman Reigns can get in. Shockingly, by, I guess, wizardry,
he was able to climb the cage.
He was able to climb the cage, as we just saw someone do earlier in the match.
Yeah.
Did one of the Tongans do that?
Well, yeah, old boy, the gremlin, Spike, Tamatanga. No, Tonga, whichever one, Tamatanga.
Sure, one of them.
Yeah, when he jumped, he did not climb to get in. He got in and then started climbing around.
Yeah.
But obviously illustrating that the chain link fence is something that you can climb and scale.
And you know, Corey Graves fascinated by who's like, oh my god, there's no way that Roman Reigns can get in this because he just put his own padlock on. We're screwed. And it's just like, oh, so yeah, I don't like the idea of weapons. I don't like I love the roof. I understand it's visually less and you can't jump off the top. I don't need you to jump off the top. I don't like. I feel it's not safe, and it was illustrated. Case in point, Bronson Reed and
Jimmy.
Uso. So I don't like that, and I don't like a fucking pinfall. Submit or surrender.
Yeah.
That was the whole gimmick of the match beyond.
Yeah.
And call it the match beyond.
And the other thing, and there's not going to be a referee in the ring until the matches begin. Fuck a referee, man. Just the 10 guys, the referees need to be on the edge.
Just looking.
Yeah.
I just need to hear the words,
And
I quit or I surrender.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of problems with the modern war games, but going back to my question, so the questions coming out of this are all about CM Punk, who wasn't even a part of this deal until a week ago.
Yeah.
And as illustrated, and I feel like we just need to touch on this for just a second. From SmackDown the night before, we saw the little cinematic segment of the sit down between Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and CM Punk, where CM Punk went overboard and mentioning, like, I'm not here for you, I'm here for Paul. He mentioned that like 5 times.
Sure.
And we left that knowing that that CM Punk expects a favor in return for the favor he's performing for his dear friend Paul Heyman. So yeah, because that's what I do when I'm doing favors for people. I let them know right from the beginning. By the way, I'm going to do this for you, but you're going to fucking owe me. So there's that, and then I gotta mention this as a.
I feel like King George does that.
Sounds about right. I gotta mention as another like sidebar to this. It is driving me insane that nobody on this television program on commentary has mentioned the fact about the dropped phone call to Paul Heyman when they show it in every fucking video package, on the buildup of this thing. But nobody has mentioned it, and at this point, it's like, okay, well, that's got to be on purpose.
What did you listen to the Pro Wrestling Boom podcast?
No. What?
Sean Plickta calls in, losing his mind, screaming, "Why are they not addressing the facts?"
Us Tennessee wrestling fans, man, we cut from the same cloth.
Is that insane?
Yeah,
he literally lost his mind. And he goes, "I know."
Yeah. So. Anyway, coming out of this War Games match, the biggest lingering question that they're putting over in commentary and the way they're presenting this whole deal is, what is the favor? What is this favor that CM Punk is owed? Yeah. Well, we'll get to that as we transition from our talk of War Games, the Survivor Series PLE, into last night's Monday Night Raw, which opened up with CM Punk in ring with a microphone in his hand. And we're thinking, maybe we're going to get to hear about what this favor is. Of course, we're not actually going to get to hear about the favor, but CM Punk comes out and he starts off with his, it's great to be alive in Everett, Washington, insert town here. One mention though of the venue last night. They were in Everett, Washington, in a place called the Angel of the Sea Arena, or the Angel of the Winds arena. It had this really weird name. But it was an 8,000 seat venue, which is pretty small for
about as small as it gets for.
It was kind of awesome, though. Yeah, it was kind of awesome. They had it packed, and it was a super lively crowd. But in this introductory, this first segment of the show, you could hear a fucking pin drop.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, they shut the hell up and were listening, and like. That translates on, through the television. It's like, oh, this is like 8,000 people like being really quiet. Like, this is cool. This is tension.
Yeah.
So
we see that other places, and it's not for the same reason.
There's tension, but not the good tension. Yeah. It's like,
wait, I just heard a fart.
Yeah, somebody
fart. Like you just hear pockets.
Go
of
back to Roman.
You hear like pockets of 12 people giggling because one person farted in their section. You hear it.
So he cuts kind of a weird promo. He points at a WrestleMania sign that is not there yet, but he's letting everybody know that he is done with these personal matters. He had personal matters with Drew McIntyre. He settled that. He had personal a favor to extend to his good old friend Paul Heyman. He's done with that. He's looking forward to the future, and by hook or by crook, either it's Elimination Chamber or the Royal Rumble, I also have a favor to cash in. He's getting ready to, say he wants to come out for, he's declaring for WrestleMania, if that's even a thing.
And you know why the sign's not there, right?
Yeah, okay.
Well, every year the sign is 1 foot bigger. That was a Vince thing.
All right.
So since WrestleMania 10 or whenever they started putting them up there to promote WrestleMania season, starting with, with the Royal Rumble or the build to the Royal Rumble, they do the WrestleMania sign. Every year, Vince makes the next year's Mania, that sign, 1 foot bigger.
Okay.
They're never washed. They can't fit that sign in there.
They couldn't fit in the building.
Yeah, no. They don't have a door big enough.
So before he gets to actually declare for WrestleMania, Seth Rollins comes out and doing his little fucking dance. I fucking hate this guy.
He's gonna make a great heel for you.
He's gonna make a great heel for me but he immediately got into the Seth Rollins mode that I do like, and I think that's why the dancing around and the outfits infuriate me, because it's just like, dude, when you take the glasses off and when you're not that guy, he's so good. Who knew in an opening segment that involved CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn on microphones, that the most compelling part of the whole segment would be the Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins part, man? Because when they eventually get to that, and the whole they have a little pull apart, him and Seth, and like, I like the way they did this, because there were some live rounds in there a little bit, at least coming from Punk, who is a guy who knows MMA, knows how to defend himself.
Well, let's not talk about his record.
Well, we're not going to talk about his record, but he's had the training.
Sure.
You have the training, notwithstanding. So Jay and Sammy come out to break this up. And as Jay is exiting going up the ramp with Punk, Rollins is like, yeah, just going back to Roman. And then Sammy's like, no, you can't talk to Jey Uso that way. And then these guys break down the origin of Roman Reigns, each guy's motivation in this present moment. And it was awesome. And you could tell it was one of those bullet point deals. It's like, these are the things that you guys got to mention. We're starting here. We're getting here.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins is so good at that.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins is so good at that. Him and Sammy get into it, and then they're like, okay, well, let's have us a little fucking wrestling match at the end of the night. And I thought this whole segment was tremendous. 25 minutes commercial free. It was the first 25 minutes of Raw last night. Just, good stuff, man. This is why you watch.
Yeah, no, this is a problem I have with AEW, because this is what fills the seats. This is what makes you want to see the match, not the other match without consequence to build to the other match. It's the let's talk it up.
Yeah, it's professional wrestling.
I mean, I just don't understand why we're missing that component in AEW.
Well, nobody knows how to do it there. And
there's some people that can talk.
Well, as far as not just individual talents that know how to talk. I mean, this is all
from the top down.
Exactly. CM Punk and Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn are not getting together in a locker room being like, hey, this is what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah.
It's
Triple H and some writers that creative writers are just like, like, if this is AEW, it's just like, okay, let's have a 3-way dance and let's have House of Black come out.
There's
what?
There's a vision. There's a vision, and there's a narrative, and there's a world, there's a universe that they built, and in WWE, and that's just not that's not what AEW is. That's not what it's ever going to be. That's not what even they're trying to do, I don't think. And it is frustrating because, and not to super get into AEW, but, 5 years ago, it was like when WWE was the shits and, wrestling fans wanted something cool to get into. They had an opportunity to really run with it and do something innovative and interesting while still resembling, professional wrestling storytelling. And like, it's just not that.
Yeah,
it's not
they're missing the cool and another big thing that they're really dropping the ball on right now. I mean, we had the sidebar. We had the conversation that WWE wrestlers, they can't count their friends and family anymore. It's a TKO thing. From the top down,
and ticket prices in general are just
through the roof
and crazy, insane.
Here is the opportunity for AEW to be like where your family gets to watch if this is here's an opportunity. The door is open for AEW. No more plastic bags over the heads. No more pouring cleaning solvent down someone's throat. This is an opportunity to do $10, $15 tickets. Your whole family gets to go for less than your entire paycheck for the week.
Yeah.
And you make it doesn't have to be kid friendly. It just can't be kid bad.
Well, that was this is harkening back to a conversation we had earlier in the week, and it was something I was what you're speaking of. I was like, if they were smart, that's what they would do.
The door is open.
But you could kind of write the history of AEW, and the book would be called "If They Were Smart."
This is it.
So this is just another example. Yeah, if they were smart, they could provide like you said, or like I said the other day, a family friendly product. Well, not necessarily family. Yeah, don't
just like kid bad.
It doesn't have to be PG, but like you don't want to feel like at some point you're gonna scar your child for life.
Yes, hypodermic needles and plastic bags.
Or if next time you go home, little Timmy's gonna be like giving his little sister Drano, because he saw it on wrestling. Like, but in this economic environment, and especially since profit and economics aren't a thing in AEW. They're not trying to make money. They're not trying to make, they made all their money from their media deal, They're not trying to make money from why not make it an inexpensive ticket, You're running these smaller buildings, make it an inexpensive ticket, pack these fucking places out, with some families. And and literally, at that point, I mean, if you want to be an alternative to WWE, you could be the economical alternative to WWE and save some wrestling fans some money. But anyway, that's our AEW.
That was our sidebar.
That was our sidebar. And of course, to just follow up on this opening segment, Sammy and Seth have a banger of a match, which you'd think they would at the end of the show, which ends with a roll up, which is pretty good. Meanwhile, before this match, Jey Uso gets attacked backstage.
Yes.
And
mystery attack.
A mystery attacker. And Sammy is, I know it was you, Seth. I know it was you. He's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, that wasn't me. It wasn't me. Boom, boom, boom. And that fixation on Seth Rollins being the assailant of Jey Uso leads to Sammy getting distracted on coming back into the ring,
wanting revenge.
Seth Rollins rolls him up 1, 2, 3, and there it is. Rollins exits the ring. He's like, "Think about it, buddy. Think about it."
Told you.
Because all the questions that were brought up in that first segment, he's like, "Think about it." And then as we see Sami Zayn reflecting on Seth Rollins' words, he gets attacked by a guy in a black hoodies. I think that needs to be on the list of banned wardrobe for WWE shows. Anybody in a black hoodie? No, sir. You got to get out of here.
All right.
Here comes Drew McIntyre in a black hoodie, and he lays out Sami Zayn with a
Claymore.
what's his thing, the Claymore kick.
Sure.
And and then that's the end of the show. So we get CM Punk returning, and then within 2 weeks we have Drew McIntyre returning with beef again with Jey Uso for shit going way back, to when Drew was a babyface.
I like people bringing up old shit.
It's because it's like, remember that?
Yeah.
For years, especially with WWF, WWE, history didn't mean anything.
Oh, yeah.
They
don't remember.
Yeah.
Who remembers that? I don't. We all do. Here's who remembers it.
Now, not only are you expected to remember it, but you're rewarded for remembering it. And Kevin Owens had a segment on SmackDown this week. It was like, you want to know why I'm pissed off? Because of this. And he starts naming off dates with accompanying video footage. This time that Roman Reigns ran me over with a golf cart. This time that Roman Reigns did this to me. This time they kicked me in the head and handcuffed me and beat me with a chair for 10 minutes. It's like, because all that stuff really did happen. And I don't know about you, Fairplay, but if somebody tied me up with handcuffs and beat me with a chair for 10 minutes and super kicked me in the face 20 times, I would remember that.
So like me and the fiance at 1 a.m. last night. I loved all of it.
There
it was
great.
Every
every single moistened minute.
I'm gonna sell next time.
Okay, there it is. And maybe Broadway. I don't know.
Who's to say? Well,
So-
real quick on as far as the
history.
the unseen injury angle in the back.
Oh, okay.
Rumored innuendo: Jade Cargill not hurt, no real injury.
That was as of a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Yes, and then as of this morning, Fightful
reconfirmed
is reporting that she is listed on the WWE's internal injury list. So.
Okay, but is that what you do when it gets out that she's not?
I say she's pregnant. I think she's pregnant, and they just for some reason, like maybe it's too early because a lot of times in pregnancies you don't want to announce.
Go and jinx it.
Yeah, so maybe it's she notified them of her pregnancy, but it is her wishes to keep
not disclose it.
Keep it undisclosed.
I can imagine Jade's partner weak pullout game. I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a beautiful moment of childbirth and they want to have a family together. Maybe the pullout game is fine. He's not playing the pullout game. Maybe he's playing the drive it home game. He is a renowned fucking baseball player, so he knows a thing or two about going to bat.
No bunts. Grand slam.
Yeah.
Rounding third.
We're gonna put the kibosh on this. So now we're sufficiently sidebarred within a sidebar. I don't even know what the fuck we were talking about. So we're gonna talk about the other big angle.
Oh yeah.
From Monday Night Raw last night, and that is of course the 10th anniversary celebration of the New Day. And I gotta say, I don't think anybody saw this coming and saw this happening the way the way they did it. Starts off all the markings of the festival of friendship or the marriage of the Macho Man Elizabeth, any sort of like in
Billy and Chuck,
any sort of like in ring WWE ceremony or happening. They've got memorabilia from throughout the years. There's a nice video package of the greatest hits of the New Day. They come out introduced by Adam Pearce, flanked by various New Day memorabilia. And I gotta say, I was bummed because located on one of the tables was one of the life-size, or not even life-size, one of the bigger than life-size Bootios.
Yeah.
I had one of those that a buddy of mine from WWE gave me because that whatever WrestleMania that was, where they all came out of the box of Bootios, and there's all this fake fake cereal. In real life, those things are it's about that big, and it just looks like it's a giant foam Cheerio essentially.
Sure.
And I had one hanging over my doorway in my house in Nashville that I lived in forever. So anytime anybody entered into my
Booty
humble abode. They were showered. They were unbootified
Yeah.
by the bootio. It was like, kind of like hanging a horseshoe over your
like
over
a horseshoe up your
underwear.
ass.
Yeah. And when I moved, I left it because it was hanging over the door. It was like, I'm looking back and I was like, all right, I got everything. Shut the door. Forgot my bootio.
Oh, how's it?
And and then reached out to the guy that moved in after me. And I was like, hey man, I know it's kind of funny, but did you find that fucking giant Cheerio that was hanging above? Can you send that to me? He never sent it back to me. So anyway, that made
Did he say it was still there, or he just threw it away?
he said it was still there. He just never sent it back to me. So
Okay.
I could have followed up. So obviously, the past few months have been a time of turmoil for the New Day. They have not been on the same page.
No.
And in the wake of last week's argument, where they both said some things that you can't take back.
No. Ooh.
They are they want to let the audience know. First off, they've got an announcement. They want everybody to know that it's not their fault. It's not the audience's fault. And in that instance, I was like, oh, this is like your parents breaking up, and that's the first thing they tell their kids.
Yeah. Jason Powell said it was, he was just like, I remember being told that. And he goes, and I'm fairly certain that I was the reason for my parents' divorce.
I don't know Jason, but I mean, a lot of kids, I think there's some rotten kids around this world. And
there's some shit kids. I would like to think that Jason Powell's not a shit kid.
Possibly not. I don't know the guy, but you vouch for him.
Yeah.
So immediately they have this. They sort of assume the role of your, the parents that are splitting up, and Big E shows up, which of course Big E was going to show up.
Yeah,
that's not a surprise, but it's awesome. He shows up, and it's one of those great things.
We want that moment to put a bow on this whole thing, and however it goes. This is it. It's we at least have a second of a feel-good moment.
The return of Big E, which we've all been waiting for. He comes out and he's like, all right, guys, I'm touched, and thank you and all this stuff, but I feel like you guys, I feel like I haven't been here for you. So before you say what I think you were going to say, I just want to let you know that moving forward, I'm going to be here every week, managing you guys. And we're gonna be united again. And then at this point, Kofi and Xavier, who 2 minutes ago were mom and dad breaking up, now the roles are switched, and they're the kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you want to come back.
Yeah.
Now you want to do something. And Big E is like the parental figure. And now where these two guys had been at each other's throats, now they're unified. And actually, Big E, fuck you. Where have you been? Like, who are you to say now you're going to come back?
Oh, now that your neck is fixed itself.
And and by the way, you broke your neck. So what?
Yeah.
So what? You broke in, and then they list off the rash of wrestlers that broke their neck and came back. And no big. Kurt Angle won a fucking gold medal with a broke neck, and he wasn't even in professional wrestling yet. That's how fucking badass he is.
Yeah.
So they proceed. If you just write this down, it's like, okay, Kofi and Xavier are super mad at Big E for having a horrendous career-ending injury and fucking up their tag team. You think, I don't know if that's really going to work. It totally worked. I mean, for me, it totally worked.
Jason Powell felt, I listened to his coverage on the ProWrestling.net members site of things.
Friends of the show.
And yes, absolutely. And he was just like, was it too much? Yes. Did it work? Yes. But it's just like, how can you heal on a guy for breaking his neck?
That's a fucking heel, though. I mean, it's
that's
awesome.
by definition a heel.
And it's like, and I got everybody that was involved in this segment, from putting it together backstage to the actual performers in the ring. It's like to even imagine. I mean, everybody did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
Big E had like just the flop sweats. I mean, he was legitimately, he looked fucking shook. Everybody held it together, And just the fact that we like are spending like 20 minutes talking about a New Day segment, and it was the best thing on Raw, is wild. And it's like, okay, I'm on board. I'm on board. I want to see what these guys do moving forward. Are they going to become like a heel tag team force?
Oh yeah,
and on Monday Night Raw, it would be great. But yeah, this segment, and I get why. So yeah, Wade Keller last night he was not fully on board with it, and he just thought there maybe with a couple of tweaks it would have made a little more sense.
I prefer the over the top heel. Like
I prefer. No, it's like no, I'm with it. Like eating the popcorn. Yeah, he is a piece of shit. He got his fucking neck broke. Fuck him.
What an asshole! Who does that? Who does that possibly on purpose?
Yeah, it was fucking great, man. So and it leaves a lot of options for the New Day moving forward.
They need a Jonny Fairplay manager. So I'm putting this out there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of semi-retired from the wrestling stuff.
I.e., they're not calling you anymore.
What? Who's to say? Who's to say? But I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
I am willing to manage Shinsuke Nakamura.
Okay.
As he does the Great Kabuki gimmick.
Yeah.
I'm willing to shave my head. New look.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's mix it up. Or
I can see it.
Or new Gary Hart has hair.
Okay.
Big curls.
Okay.
Who cares? Or keep the fro. Boom. Put me with the New Day.
Yeah.
I love it. There's 2 gigs I put out there. I'll accept on the 3rd because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there this weekend. I said, you got Grayson Waller.
You got to put stuff out into the universe sometimes.
Manifest it.
For it to come back to you. And speaking of, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an action-packed episode of a Wrestling After Show. There's more we could talk about, but it's been an hour, and we got shit to do.
Yeah.
And speaking of the shit to do, what do you got going on this weekend?
Over the Edge weekend.
All right.
It's a big celebration. We're all raising money for individual charities. I raised over $2,000. Top 8, I believe, fundraiser earner for this. So Homeward Trails, Animal Rescue, they're getting all the money that I raised individually. It's over 130 reality stars. We also have some wrestling stars. I sent you the list today.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
we got Grayson Waller. We got Katana
Chance.
Your girl from NXT.
I think, what, let me see.
I sent it on Instagram.
You sent it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I took a look at it.
Ivar?
When I was heading over here, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I didn't really get it. Oh, yeah, Kiana James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you need an autograph pick from Kiana James?
It's just those digits, baby.
That just... All right, well, I'll see what I can do.
Hey, are you into, like, weird old dudes that, like, I don't know, like wrestling?
You want to watch some Crockett classics? we can double your moveset.
Kiana James, yeah, she's something else.
I'll see what I can do.
See what you can.
She may be single.
Do there. Anyway, so
do you have an awkward picture you'd like to share with me?
I'll take one right after this.
All right.
So you got that going on.
Yeah.
I got nothing going on as usual. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm always waiting to read some of these comments. I'm sure you're all going to leave under this video on YouTube.
Yeah.
Be sure to like and subscribe to the Reality After Show channel to get updates on every time Reality After Show posts, not just this particular program, but all the programs in the Reality After Show family. And then you can also follow us on our individual social medias, mainly Instagram for me.
You're at Heath Haynes DJ.
I'm at Heath Haynes DJ on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm at Jonny Fairplay, No H and Johnny, and I'm on tour right now, Heath. It's me and myself and King George and a bunch of other survivors. I'm going to be next week in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Filson. It's in between.
Tell the people. I'm not going. Tell the people.
You might go. Who's to say? It's in between. It's in between the where the Reds play and where the Bengals play, on the banks of the river there in Cincinnati. So go to SurvivorTix.com. That's SurvivorTix.com. That's next Wednesday. The following Wednesday, I am in Los Angeles, California, at Jackson's Bar. That's right, Jax from Vanderpump Rules. It is the Survivor finale. I have 18 unadvertised guests that will be there. So if you're watching season 47 of Survivor, you know there's no way that those 18 survivors from season 47 could be there. However, who's to say they happen to be in Los Angeles and happen to show up at my after party for the viewing party?
That sounds like a potential for something very exciting happening in Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen. So if anybody in that area, or if you're not in that area, you might want to make the trip. What's that link again for tickets?
SurvivorTix.com. That's SurvivorTix.com. VIP will sell out.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, here on Wrestling After Show, that was Jonny Fairplay. I'm Heath Haynes. We'll see you at the matches.
Woo!